Hello and welcome to the Uncensored Sports News. This is breaking news. Sadio Mane suffers an injury for Bayern Munich less than 2 weeks before World Cup. Senegal forward Sadio Mane was taken off with an apparent knee injury 20 minutes into Bayern Munich's Bundesliga clash with Werder Bremen, just 12 days before the World Cup. Former Liverpool star Sadio Mane, he received treatment as he sat on the turf before trudging off the pitch, with Julian Nagelsmann sending on former Manchester City winger Leroy Sane as his replacement. The sight of Mane being withdrawn less than 2 weeks before the World Cup gets underway in Qatar is a major cause for concern for Senegal and fans across the world. He is the talismanic player for his nation and played a key role in their Africa Cup of Nations triumph earlier this year. Mane also helped Senegal defeat Egypt in a second penalty shootout in 2 months to qualify for the World Cup finals. Given his fine tally of 34 goals in 93 international appearances, Senegal will be distraught if his injury is enough to rule him out of the competition. At the very least, it appears unlikely Mane will feature in Bayern's final fixture before the World Cup enforced break, a trip to Shaki on Saturday. The Bavarian Giants were drawing 1-1 at the time of his substitution, after Anthony Jung scored for the visitors at the Allianz Arena to cancel out Jamal Musiala's opener. Normal service soon resumed for the reigning Bundesliga champions, as Serge Gnabry struck twice, with Sane assisting his second either side of a Leon Goretzka goal, to give the hosts a 4-1 lead at half-time. But a dazzling first 45 minutes was overshadowed by Mane's injury, which comes shortly before Senegal take on Netherlands, Qatar and Ecuador in Group A. The former Southampton names have already been ruled out of the tournament. World Cup Injuries 2022 Tracker. List of players who could miss out on Qatar due to injury. The 2022 FIFA World Cup is the first World Cup to be held in the months of November and December, and the timing is already having an impact on the participating teams. Due to the intense summer heat in host nation Qatar, the World Cup had to be moved from the usual June-July window. While the scheduling change will make for better playing conditions for the players, it has also posed a challenge for a number of squads. Since the World Cup tournament falls smack in the middle of the European club season, rather than during the off-season which has been customary, it means any players injured in the weeks leading up to the World Cup are in danger of missing the tournament. In past editions, these players had several weeks to recover prior to the tournament's kickoff, but this time around there is precious little time between the break from club play, November 14, and the start of the World Cup on Sunday, November 20. There are a significant number of injuries to track as the 2022 FIFA World Cup nears its inaugural match. Here are the biggest names who will miss the tournament in Qatar. Argentina injuries World Cup 2022. Angel Di Maria. Having already announced that 2022 will be his final World Cup, Angel Di Maria has struggled with a number of injuries this season, going down in early October with a quad injury, but he has returned to training and should be available. Paulo Dybala suffered a torn hamstring on October the 9th while taking and scoring a penalty. Looked initially unlikely he would be available for the World Cup, but recent reports have indicated he could make a recovery in time. Giovanni Lo Celso. He suffered a torn quad on October the 30th. Parent club Tottenham wants him to undergo surgery, but the player may opt to play through the injury at World Cup. His status is uncertain, but his involvement is looking unlikely. Belgium injuries World Cup 2022. Romelu Musmunia. The wing-back suffered a fractured cheekbone on October the 20th. He is out of club action until the break, but is hopeful of being available for the World Cup. Brazil injuries World Cup 2022. Bremer. The Juventus centre-back was withdrawn from club action on October the 15th with a quad injury, but returned to availability in early November and was selected for the final roster. Lucas Paqueta. The midfielder, in good form at West Ham, suffered a shoulder injury on October the 16th, but returned to club action on November the 6th as a substitute and will be available for the World Cup. Richarlison. He has been out with a calf injury since October 15 and has yet to return for Spurs, but he was still added by Tite to the final squad. England injuries for World Cup 2022. Reece James. One of the most devastating injuries for any team at the World Cup involves England fullback Reece James, who was in fantastic form with Chelsea before he suffered a knee injury against Wolves on October the 8th. Would Gareth Southgate bring him to Qatar and wait for him to gain his fitness with the team? Kyle Walker. Another critical England defender struggling for fitness is Kyle Walker, who has been missing with a groin injury since October 2. He's a true question mark for the World Cup, with Pep Guardiola saying in early November he's still not sure when Walker will be fit to play. One to watch for sure as the World Cup nears. Other injuries. Ben Chilwell, hamstring injury, out of World Cup. Calvin Phillips, shoulder injury, could return in time and is hopeful of inclusion in the final squad. Emile Smith-Rowe, groin surgery on September the 29th, out of World Cup. France injuries World Cup 2022. Lucas Hernandez. At least there's some good news for France. Out for most of September and all of October with an adductor tear, Lucas Hernandez returned to action with Bayern Munich on November the 5th, and will be fit for the World Cup, barring any new injury setbacks. N'Golo Kante. The Chelsea midfielder has been injury-prone his whole career, and succumbed to a hamstring issue early in the Premier League season. He's been out since mid-August and was ruled out of the World Cup a number of weeks before the tournament. Mike Maignan. There's a worry between the pipes for France, as AC Milan goalkeeper Mike Maignan is struggling with a calf injury, and was ruled out of club activities through the new year by head coach Stefano Pioli. There's no word on his World Cup availability, and he should start over Hugo Lloris if included, but that seems a big question mark at this point. Paul Pogba. A knee injury in pre-season kept Pogba out of action for Juventus all season, and while it was thought he could recover in time for the World Cup, he suffered a thigh injury during his recovery, ruling him out of the World Cup. It's a brutal blow to France, who will be missing both their starting midfielders in Qatar. Raphael Varane. The Man United defender came off in tears in late October, and while he will miss the rest of the Red Devils slate before the World Cup break, he should be back in time for the World Cup. His status is not confirmed, making it a true 50-50th situation. Germany injuries for World Cup 2022. Leroy Sane. It was a scare when Leroy Sane went down with a hamstring tear in mid-October, but he returned to action for Bayern Munich with a 15-minute cameo on November the 5th, and should be fit for the World Cup, unless any new issue crops up. Timo Werner. It's heartbreak for Timo Werner, who was recovering his form after moving to RB Leipzig this past summer. He limped off in the 19th minute of Leipzig's Champions League win over Shakhtar Donetsk on November the 2nd, and is out for the World Cup with a foot injury. Florian Wirtz. The Bayer Leverkusen attacker has been out all season as he recovers from an ACL tear suffered back in March, but reports have surfaced over the past few months that he could return specifically for the World Cup, and may be included in Hansi Flick's squad. One to watch, as it would be risky to give Wirtz his first competitive action in 9 months of the World Cup. Thank you for watching. Kindly subscribe, like, and share this as we bring you more.